the monastic sanghas and all Zen practitioners. In practicing Zen, we have to have the right Dharma eye, so that way we can see the true teaching of the Buddha. Or it's also the eyes of the diamond. It's always true, right? And when we have this Dharma eyes, this also means that we are directly returned to the self nature. And when we talking about the true Buddha Dharma, it's about the true self-detachment. And this true self-detachment is basically we overcome all the suffering. If we're not able to understand this correctly, then we basically direct our mind into the hell realm, and we waste our chance in the practice. So in the Buddha teaching, there's an example, a simile of the kings of the swan. And the king of the swan is basically know how to purify the milk from the water. It's basically it knows how to extract the milk from the water. So this simile is basically about the practitioners knows how to extract the true Dharma from the teaching and able to use the teaching to help himself or herself in the practice, and able to distinguish between the wrong Dharma or the wrong practice or the wrong view, and direct the mind to the true Buddha Dharma. And this is going to help practitioner to go into the true practice. And if the understanding, if practitioner able to direct to the true practice, then that's a good thing. But if we wrongly take in the wrong perception, and it's gonna basically increase the ego of oneself, and we increase our delusion, and we're gonna walk in the wrong path. So out of the compassion, the Buddha helped the sentient beings or practitioners basically to correct the, the view themselves. So the Buddhas basically create different skillful means to lead practitioner into the correct path. So one of them is the prajna paramita. The prajna paramita is basically the teachings from the three times of the Buddhas, and eventually lead to the Buddhahood. So when we study the Buddha Dharma, it's basically going to help us to return to that Buddha nature. And most of our obstacles basically created by ourselves, by our karmic energy. So therefore we need to be friend with the wise teachers and friends, so that it's going to help us to release this mind disease that we have in our practice, release our self-attachment and ignorance. And if we know that we have this responsibility in ourselves as a practitioners, so that we can in sync with the Sangha. So, and when we live with the Sangha, we need to follow the guidelines, the rules. So these guidelines and these rules basically can help us to release our karmic energy as well, our own habitual patterns. And when we not able to correct a small attachment to the ego or self-centered, and that's going to be a really problem for ourselves and the sanghas. And also in the practice, along with the monastic precepts, the Buddha also allowed the monastics to take the precepts of the bodhisattvas. And the precepts of the bodhisattvas is also help us to release our self-attachment, our own protective ego. So when you go around and talk, in the back of other people, that means we broken the precepts. So all the sentient beings in the 6 realms are our parents for many lives. So we should consider them as our parents. And all the sentient beings also have the Buddha nature. So we should respect all different people. And in general speaking, we should take this consideration, and we all have our own role. Everyone have their own role. So the parents have their own roles, the children have their own roles, and in society, so basically everyone has their own role. So when we on this path, we basically know that we have our own role, but our own role is to release our self-detachment. And in the society, they have their own roles to help them perfect in their life. That's is worldly Dharma life. And in this Dharma life, we basically have our own role, especially in the Bodhisattva path or Bodhisattva way. We also have our own role. That's the role of as a practitioners. And the Bodhisattva path also help us to release this self-attachment and increase our own responsibility to support the 3 jewels, and especially the Sangha and the 10 groups in the Sangha. So let's say, in this particular home, we can see that the home builder, they have built the roof, the wall, the windows. So each part of the house has its own function. So in the Sangha, we have our own each one of us have our own function to help support the Sangha. So equally, we have that function to support the structure of the house. So in one Sangha, we need to harmonize each other. So this harmony based on our practice, and based on this, we're able to build the foundation for the Sangha. So it's not only the precepts, but our own habits, our own. And if we abandon all this and we run after the worldly habits or karmic energy, then we're gonna ruin ourselves and the Sangha as well. So, and that means someone have the blind Dharma eye. They're not able to see the true teaching of the Buddha. So we waste a chance in this life as a Dharma practitioners. So this is just a reminder to everyone today. So right now, none Pháp Hương, you can go ahead and ask the question. Namo Sakyamuni Buddha, dear Thầy, dear monastic Sangha, and all Zen practitioners. I would like to ask a Dharma question. My practice in the recent months, in my practice, so basically I have some doubt, and for some reason I'm not exactly know where I'm going with this practice. So that's why I want to ask you this question. So can you explain to me? So the Zen master Li Kwa, when we practice Zen, and our practice is about asking the Huato question, and we're going to use this Huato. The Huato is basically is not nowhere to abide in, nowhere to go to. So that's what you need to remember. The Huato is nowhere to abide into, nowhere to go to. So when you abide into the Huato, then it's creates this object, and it's create this duality between subject and object, and it's going to create these three elements: something to gain, something to seek, and something to fear. So even you don't see that you have the energy of doubt, and that's okay too, because this is not there yet. But you continue to keep going. So the experience here is not about the material good, something that you can hold on to, but it's based on the determination of birth and death. So basically, this example in real life, and a carpenter, if he at first, he maybe not perfectly, measure the wood and carve the wood, not very good yet. And at first, he not be able to build anything yet. But eventually, if a good carpenter, he knows how to measure, he knows how to put pieces together, and he very skillfully, put all the woods together to build the cabinet or whatnot. So because out of his loving for the crafts, basically he invents or invests a lot of time into, he loved this job, and he's gonna basically gonna be successful in this skillful craft. So in the world, there's a saying: if you particularly specialty in this, a certain job, then you're gonna be successful. So that's the worldly labor job, and he's gonna be successful in that particular job. And if one doesn't want to practice and invest in the practice, and it's gonna keep struggling. And when we're talking about the Dharma, it's different. The Dharma were, when we practice this, we're gonna let go the self-detachment, the ego. And when you return to your self nature, that's when you practice the right guidelines. Because in this life and many lives before this, we basically live in this self-attachment all the time. So in this practice, in this mental practice, we basically, there's nothing to hold on to, nothing to abide in, and we go beyond the conventional. And the Huato is basically, there's no subject and object, and the gray doubt is going to lead to the head of the Huato. And because of our habitual patterns of attached to the self-attachment, so therefore we need to get close to the wise teachers, so that they can help us to release this strong attachment of self ignorance. And when you have our own deep experience in the practice, and the more experience you have this in this practice, and it's create a steady steps, and it's gonna support our nothing to fear, nothing to gain, nothing to seek. And otherwise, we're gonna allow our mind to go outside of the practice and try to get something from the worldly understanding. So when you're in deep practice, there's nothing can distract you, and each step you walk is going to be very steady, very stable. It's just like when you have great doubt, then you're gonna have it's gonna lead you to the awakening. And when you say that you have a doubt, or when you don't have doubt, that doesn't matter. You just start to ask the question. You can sit the Huato question all the time. So when you have this attachment to the something to seek, something to gain, and those are between subject and object. And when you're able to stay in this path and keep going, and then you're gonna able to see there's no subject and object. Basically, you don't even know that you have subject and object. and in 1 nanosecond. And when you're able to reach to that nanosecond, and that nanosecond is basically leave the known, and you're able to return to directly return to the original mind, original Buddha nature. So you're able to release the subject and object. So did my explanation make sense to you? Yes. So thank you, Thầy. And now, Miss Mỹ Vân, can you go ahead? Dear Thầy, dear monastic sangha, and all Zen practitioners. And my question is about our Zen master Wei Li, when he said that when we maintain the practice, that's also when we keep the precepts. So when we're talking about precepts, when we practice the Zen, that's also when we maintain or practice the precepts. And Zen Master Likwa also mentioned this, when we practice this, maintain the great doubt, it also contains the 3 elements: the precepts, the concentration, and the maintain the wisdom. And when we practice this, our mind not arise with a wrong thinking, wrong perceptions. And even, in this practice, people, they have just rise with the thoughts to become a Buddha, to become a patriarch. That is also, violate the precepts, because this is the violate of the something to gain, something to seek, because that moment of thought rising, oh, I want to become a Buddha, I want to become a patriarch, it already falls into the wrong path. And when our mind wandering out in that realm of perceptions, the wrong perception, and that is also, something the Zen practitioner should not do that. So in the Zen traditions, and this practice, including the concentration, including concentrating. This concentration is not including the subject and object. So right now, if our practice is not strong enough, we're not able to have that true concentration. And when our mind has no distinction, that is the wisdom. That's so when we practice this, we basically have all 3 elements: the concentration, the precepts, and the wisdom, and they all equally create automatically. They always there. They always equally fulfill in our mind. But when we're able to truly return to the true practice, then they are there. Right now, we still able to see this subject and object between the precepts, that we know that we practice the precepts. We know that we practice, concentration to gain the wisdom and so on. So in the conventional, that's in conventional. So in the form of our practice, But when we practice to the absolute ultimate goal is nothing to gain, nothing to seek. So when we talking about this conventional perspective, we can see that, oh, I am the one who practice protect the precept. I'm gonna practice to gain this concentration, so it's gonna lead me to the wisdom. But when we practice, this quarto method, it's automatically go to the absolute non-attachment. So there's the stanza of precept. So this is this basic stanza. All the unwholesome acts I will stop, and all the wholesome acts I will continue to practice, and I always contain and maintain the purity, the mind. So it's not about and sometimes when we say that, oh, I need to hide all the unwholesome and only propagate, all the goodness, all the wholesome, and sometimes it could, basically hide our own ego in there as well. So we need to be careful about, this practice, ẩn ác dương thiện, or the hiding all the unwholesome and sew up all the wholesomeness that could lead to the ego as well. So this is the conventional Dharma practice. So when we able to go directly into the original mind, that's it's gonna release the conventional practice. So the four practice of the conventional, when we practice, the impermanence, the peaceful, tranquility, and calm abiding. So when we see on this path, we go beyond this four qualities, because this four qualities basically it has the connotation between impermanence and permanence, tranquility and not tranquility, and so on. So I hope this makes sense to you. You understand? Yes. So we run out of time. So thank you all the monastic sanghas for today listening.